All right, welcome to the podcast. We'll get started where everyone else does. As far as earliest childhood memory, what are we getting into?
Earliest childhood memory? I gotta say, I remember playing like on this summer basketball team outside, and I made a hook shot, and that's just like the first memory I literally can genuinely remember. If we're going like that
Yeah,
early, that's the best thing I got at like 6 years old.
perfect. So, as far as playing basketball outside on an actual team, where are we growing up? Is somewhere warm? Are we in Florida, Texas? What do we got going on?
I was in Chantilly, Virginia.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't say
Yeah,
necessarily the warmest, but nice that they were out had you outside.
yeah, and it's the summer, so it's warm. We have warm summers.
Okay, very nice, very nice. So, did you play a lot of sports when you were growing up at an early age? What was your go-tos?
Yeah, a lot of basketball, baseball, soccer. I played just about all the sports until high school, and then I just played basketball.
There you go. We'll start around elementary, middle school. As far as playing sports, was that something your parents said, "Hey, you have to do sports," or you just really enjoyed them?
I would say it's something that my family just kind of threw us in to see what we liked and kind of gave us the space to like choose if that's what we wanted to do and which sports
Yeah.
we wanted to do. So that's kind of how that went. That's how I ended up like falling in love with basketball more and only
Okay.
playing that sport.
Yeah. For us, my mom's like, "Hey, you're either gonna play a sport or you're gonna get a job." And I said, "Oh, I will play sports for as long as I can." For you, did your parents try to push you in a certain direction, or they just, like you said, gave you the space and let you decide?
Gave me the space. I fell into basketball. Like I think I really loved it early in
Yeah.
age.
I think based off of I don't know if the post was today, but Michael Jordan may have been an
Yeah.
early
Michael
person
Jordan
in your
and
life.
Kobe Bryant were my big two.
Yeah. Did you watch them growing up? Did you what was the move there?
Yeah, I watched him growing up. I was a Laker fan since birth, and I my dad like threw me in a onesie that was a Laker fan so that he could prove that I've always been a Laker fan, and that was who I watched all the time. Grew up watching them win in the 2000s, grew up watching them win in the later 2000s, and then have just watched us try to figure it out since then.
That that's fun to be part of a culture one that's winning. I'm from Chicago, but I never really watched sports growing up with my family. So I was like, if sports were on, I'd go outside and shoot hoops or do whatever it was. And I severely missed on the whole like enjoying a sports team thing. I just started recently. My stepdad has season tickets to the Bears, so like I'll go with him. It was like, hey. This is great. Everybody's so happy.
Yeah, 100%. I feel that.
So mostly sports. Did you enjoy education? Anything in school when you were growing up?
I was homeschooled until high school,
Let's
so that
go.
was a journey, and then went to high school and when I was 14, and then that was cool. It was a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
How did so we're homeschooling our kids. I got a 4-year-old and one that's 1.5. How did your parents decide to do homeschooling and what was your experience like?
Um, it was really cool. Like I had a lot of siblings. I was the oldest, so it
Okay.
was just really cool, just loving the fam and spending time with them and just growing up just a lot, spending a lot of time together. And
Yeah.
then now just getting to um like just it's like so many memories of that time
Mm.
frame because we spent so much time together and we did
Right.
some co-ops and stuff with other homeschoolers, but it was cool.
And were you was it workbook based since you had a lot of kids? Did your mom or dad just lead a class every day? What was the arrangement for you going through that?
It was like a mix. We just had to take a standardized test at the end of every year, which
Okay.
proved that we were in the grade that we were in. But like we did a mix of different stuff. My mom was really good with math and certain things, so we did that at home. And then we went to a co-op for like sciences and Englishes
Gotcha.
and yeah.
Yeah, no, they have the STEM programs. They have an option that you can bring your kids in for that. But at the moment, there's so many homeschoolers these days. It's just a lot of opportunity.
It is.
The biggest difference I have noticed from people I've had on my podcast that are homeschooled versus not, 100% go-getters, and there's not really oh, that looked kind of hard, or I'm not going to give that a try. Would
Yeah, yeah,
you agree?
I'd agree with that. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
it's just wild. Was there ever a point when you're like, "Oh, I feel like I'd rather be in school," or what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I like, I mean, you had moments where maybe you wished that you were in school with, other people and, like, I mean, I got to do co-ops and stuff, so some of it
Yeah,
like was kind of schoolish, but like sometimes I wished I did, and I got to hang out with like some family and friends that like went to school every now and then and got to check them out, and then as time went on, it just got better and better. So it
yeah.
was cool. It was like I had a lot of fun.
Sometimes I have a hard time explaining. I wouldn't necessarily say my side because it's my opinion that I've formed through my whole life. So it's not going to be like, oh, it's just these three bullet points. But
Uh-huh.
I feel the school education system has just been overloaded. So for it to work correctly for each individual kid, I feel like it's really tough. And if you do have the opportunity to homeschool, it seems like a positive for most children, unless you're super religious. I've talked to a couple where that's been tough.
Yeah. It I think like it's really up to you on how you want to do things. I think it's a great opportunity. I enjoyed it a lot. I was a little bit ahead in elementary school, so like I when I would do homeschool and stuff like that, I was able
Yeah.
to move at my own pace, read what I wanted to read, move ahead as I wanted. I actually found I didn't love school as much when I went to high school, and I think it's because you have to sort of squeeze it down to work for everyone, and
Right.
that just didn't work for me, and I didn't enjoy it at all. So I mean, I can
Mhm.
understand the value of like I loved learning growing up, and that
Yeah.
helped me a lot as I got older.
Well, and that's such a strange thing because in high school, reading was not something you did for fun. And then I'd be like, if there was an adults reading, I'm like, what are you reading for fun? Like, what do you, I had to do it to for this
Yeah,
test, and just my
100%.
thirst for information was just drained from me. But if there was a group project, I'm all in. If we're doing something in class, let's go. But any of that extra stuff that I had to stimulate for myself, not happening.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that.
So for you playing basketball going to high school, did you feel like there was a discrepancy between your skills and the high school kids, or what was there a gap there at
Oh no,
all?
no. I like loved basketball, and part of the reason I went to school was to play basketball. I was pretty good. I
Let's
like
go.
played varsity 3 out of the 4 years, and it was great. I had a wonderful time, and I was pretty good, I'd say overall.
Yeah. What would you say your best and worst experience were from playing high school basketball?
Well, my freshman year, I broke my hip out of
Oh,
nowhere. It was like a fractured, like that pulled off, and then as time went on, yeah, that was rough. That was one of the most like painful, ridiculous experiences ever, and it was like while I was running, it was just insane. But then I'd say one of the best experiences, I hit some like game winners when I was in high school, and
yeah.
man, like that was like the thing I loved the most, like getting that last shot. So I remember a couple of times where I shot that last shot and it went in. Like, yeah, I was made for this, is what I always felt like.
How did you get into the mindset? I still remember being in the huddle in middle school and the coach saying, "All right, who wants this ball?" And I would say I was a decent shooter. I was also on the B team that like was not a big deal. It was maybe like seventh grade, but I didn't want the pressure of taking that shot. And the guy that asked for the ball, don't need to shout him out too much. But he wasn't a great shot, but man, did he have confidence. And he hucked that thing up, missed it, but like I was so scared of making mistakes. How did you have the mindset that you
Oh,
did going into that?
I will say like maybe that's the homeschooler in me, but I've never been afraid of making a mistake, and
Oh, that's
I want the
awesome.
opportunity. Like I want the chance to hit that shot. Like give me the
Yeah.
chance. 100%.
That's so cool. Do you think your parents fostered that? Was it just someone you saw or just Kobe and Michael? Like what was it just it was there.
I don't know. Like my parents did ask me to, ask critical thought questions and
Yeah.
question reality when I was homeschooled, and also they didn't like it when I did question too much, but I don't know, man. Like it was just something since I was really young. I always wanted to do that. So yeah, I don't know. Everybody's different. I feel
Yeah.
like that's just been that was the gene I got.
How it was for you. And I've recently improved on that, and now I'm like, all right, give me the ball, whether it's volleyball side, whatever we're playing. I was like, if
Yeah,
I miss, it's okay. Like that's
100%.
fine.
Worst case scenario, I miss.
So when you're going through high school, is there a path that's given to you? What are you thinking about as far as next steps go, and how do you kind of get those thoughts out there?
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I like stumbled into college, went to University of Lynchburg, was not thinking about anything, tried to play basketball, didn't make the team, played club basketball, and like, but yeah, going through high school, it was just having a good time with a couple of friends, a little bit of an oddball being homeschooled and stuff. Didn't like have as many of the close, tight-knit friendships other people did because you've been going to school together forever.
Right.
But yeah, it was dope. Like, I was it was a good mix of like belonging and not belonging that I think is what helps me have the perspective I have today.
It's funny because sometimes I talk to my friends. I was like, "Hey, you were the it guy. You were the cool guy." And every time I talk to her, like, "Oh yeah, I was just in a lot of groups." It was just I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And it's all just made up. And I'm like, What was I doing?"
Yeah.
As far as when you got to college, was there a degree that you were pursuing? Was there anything that you liked in particular?
I was a business major, and then just because my dad was in sales, and I figured I would go into sales, and then after I failed my third info systems test, I went to my communications professor, who was like literally still one of my best friends, Professor Rue, and I was like, "Look, man, I can't do this, and I'm gonna fail out of school." And he was like, "What do you want to do?" And turned out because I had a communications minor, if I just switched the major that semester, I could still graduate on time and be have a business minor. So then I switched to communications, and that
Okay.
was just the best time of my life. Like I absolutely loved my communications major. It was like it was public relations, but like my communications professors were just so cool. I like went back to college. I went back to my university recently, and it was incredible. Like they were just still the same. So
Yeah.
amazing.
I feel like if you're going to be a teacher, that would be the teacher to be like good at things because that's not necessarily being good at math is going to make you a good math teacher or having the understanding, but communications, like it's in the name. Like you
100%.
you should do a
100%.
very good job at your job.
And I told them like even today, a lot of what I learned in that class is stuff that they teach and like in jobs. Like
Yeah.
at a job, it's like, hey, we're gonna bring someone in to teach you how to communicate effectively interpersonally, or hey, we're gonna teach you how to handle public relations, or hey, we're like it was all these things that I actually did classes on. So it's
Mhm.
funny that my major is what then I ended up having to do a bunch of in like classes at work because
Yeah.
of I don't know people not being able to communicate or not being able to sell or whatever the case is, you know?
The communicating one is very interesting. Um, well, I would say I grew up in a very open communication as far as like if I had a complaint or if my parents wanted this of me, if they were disappointed, whatever the scenario would be, like they'd let me know. I didn't really have to do a lot of deep thinking to be like, oh, like what are they thinking? Everyone pretty much knew what everyone was
Mm.
feeling. And when I met my wife, um, very much different. And I was like, oh, okay. Like now I kind of understand like the where drama can come from is like you
Yeah.
just expect me to know this. And she's like, yeah, like me and my mom just wouldn't talk for weeks. And like
Oh, wow.
we would write to each other in a journal sometimes because that was the only way we could communicate. And I was like, okay, communication, it's different for everybody.
It is 100%.
So
Absolutely.
what was um some of the fun communication things that you learned that you're like, all right, this is good. I like this.
What I loved about communications is that if I asked a question about why we were doing something, people answered it. So like, I've written books and done all kinds of stuff now. I always do anything that I can come up with a reason as to why I can do it, why I should do it. Like early on, I thought I hated school, but it's not that
Yeah.
I hated school. I hated when I wanted to do something or I want to know why we're doing something and you can't explain it to me. So when I'm in popular culture class and I'm learning, they allowed me to write a book on, I'm not a book, I'm sorry. They allowed me to write a paper on Jay-Z and it was something I really enjoyed. It's like, cool. When I'm in accounting and I'm like, hey, why am I having to learn this specific way if a computer does it? And they're like, well, what if the computer doesn't work? And I'm like, then I wouldn't be working. That's the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it on paper and pencil. I would just shut down. And that's just like I think it's a personal choice, but I think it's just how I view
Yeah.
reality. Like I need to I I think about what it is. And then like I took these interpersonal communications classes and like a class about like how to act in the workforce and like doing your resumes. And I just kept finding that there was so much there was such a focus on what would happen post university outside of just a job and how I could be a better individual for communication and connection
Yeah.
and to advocate for myself in a way, you know, how to make sense of the world around me through like PR and like
Mhm.
how PR works and how marketing works. Like all of that was just so dope. And I think it helped me a lot as I got older.
I feel like these should be in like middle school, high school classes. Like these basics should be getting run through for kids.
100%. I
So
agree. 100%.
you brought up an interesting point where you wanted to be able to question something as opposed to just listening to the professor. I feel not necessarily not listening, but just be able to have an open dialogue. I feel that a lot of people don't question things these days. Do you kind of feel that, or what's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
100%. I did a video about Sky Fromm recently and what he lived through in the 1940s with like totalitarianism. One of the things he said was that freedom is psychologically scary for humans
Mhm.
because like we really enjoy it when people tell us exactly what we need to do because we feel
Yeah,
very confident of the direction we can head and then we can blame somebody else for that. And so whenever you start to question the foundation of like what someone does or how someone thinks, you're like the person will feel like you're attacking them because that's their view of the world, right? Like
right.
that's and it may seem dumb, like it's just a job or it's just you know a class they're teaching, but like their life in a lot of ways depends on that. And me
Mhm.
asking a question that they don't want to hear is very frustrating. Like it's literally an attack on their ego for lack of better words, I guess. So I think the vast majority of people like do not like to be asked questions because most of them have not thought about why they're doing what they're doing or why they believe what they believe. They've just accepted it as such, which is I'm not mad about it. It's just that's why I know that I always ask questions rather than tell people like what they should be doing or not doing.
Yeah, I believe '08 elections when Obama was running. I would be trying to talk, I guess, more so at people or like, hey, this is the thing I know. I'm going to relay
Mm.
these facts to you. Obviously, this will change your opinion. Then it took me just a little time on the internet. It's like, oh, that's not how
Mm.
that works.
It's like a religious experience for almost all aspects of life.
Yeah. So for you, um, when you're going through the workplace, what was the first job, and were you like, hey, I want to stay here forever, or did you always have, we're just going to go to the next thing? What was your?
I was miserable. I got into technology sales. I thought like, yo, if I do a good job, people will like me and it'll be a good job. No, it was like a lot of politics, a lot of, you know, it's funny. Only recently have I actually come to understand what it is. There's this book called Bull as Jobs. I don't know if you
Okay.
could be a lot of cussing on yours, but
Yeah, you can
basically
swear.
the book is about how we've built a world of jobs where like people really just like their job is to just have a job. And so like when a company reaches a certain size, people are just trying to maintain their job and move up in their job. They're not really worried about the customer anymore. I've
Yeah.
always cared about the customer. So I'd be like, well, why are we doing it this way? This doesn't make any sense. And people would say, Django, why are you asking that question? That's not your job. And I would be like, but it doesn't matter if it's not my job. If I work at this company, we need to have success, right? Whoa, bro. Like, that is not your job. Why are you asking so many questions? Why are you peeling back layers? Why are you asking why this thing isn't working? Why are you questioning the thing that's working? It's working. Leave it alone.
Right.
And so every job I had, I found that I ended up in the same spot, which was on the bad end of someone because I'm asking too many questions. So
Right.
found myself back in the same place I was in high school and college, asking too many questions.
Well, it's when I have conversations with people, I stopped asking what they do for work because generally when I would talk to people, I started just asking questions and trying to learn about people when I was around my grandparents. All my
Hmm.
grandparents' friends had super interesting jobs. Like, oh, you're a scientist and you do like this types of things. You're a world traveler, things of those nature. Like you produce movies, whatever it is, and they love to talk about it. And but nowadays, people, it's like you said, it's just a job. They're going to get
Yeah.
a paycheck. They're not trying to do anything wild. It seems very robotic as far as where people are in these in their lives these days.
100%. I think you right on hit it right on the nail, hit the nail right on the head.
And do you feel that that's something that has been orchestrated, or just because our focus is monetary and that just seems to be harder and harder to get these days?
In this book I wrote called "They Lied to You," the concept in Western culture is to do things just for the outcome. Like it
Okay.
doesn't really matter what the journey is, typically, right? Like people will cut corners, cheat, whatever. You know, when you're in school, it's like if you cheat, are you trying if you're not cheating? I remember jokes like that when I was at a job. It was like, well, and I have a great job now. I'm in product management now, but like especially like on the sales side or some of the other jobs, it's like, okay, I'm just going to cut this corner because no one's going to know. It doesn't matter. So if you
Yeah.
live in a culture where the underlying structure is that the journey doesn't matter at all and all that cares is that we hit a KPI or a destination, well then like no one's going to say anything when things aren't the right way because like that might be your job, you know,
Mhm.
like there's people who are working a job right now that maybe that job shouldn't exist. They're not going to say like, "Hey, I should go do the hard thing and find a new job." They're just going to try to keep that job for as long as possible, you know?
Yeah.
I used to work selling to government, and the government would call me every year in September, federal government when I was selling to different groups, USDA, HHS, whatever. And they'd be like, "Hey man, we found $1 million. We need to spend it." And I'd be
Yeah.
like, "You need to spend it? What do you mean?" "We need to spend it because if we don't spend it, then we won't have it for next year." I'm like, "Why do you need it for next year?" "Because we need the budget to increase." "Why do you need the budget to increase?" "Because I want to become a manager next year." "But like you didn't spend the money, so you're going to waste the money?" "Yeah." So then I'm at the job like, well, of course I'm going to take this money. I'm trying to hit my number. So now I hit my number based on something they didn't need. Like it's a cycle.
Yeah.
No one is willing to do the hard thing. That is like, hey, maybe my life is going to be inconvenienced. And so then you just have a bunch of things layer on top from decisions based on I'm just going to do what's best for me. You know,
Yeah.
that's how I think we got here. I don't think anyone meant anything by it. I
Okay.
just think
I like
that's
that.
just what happened. You know?
Yeah. I was dating a girl and her dad worked for IT at a really fancy high school, and they're like, "Yeah, we got an extra $100,000, so we got everybody laptops. If we don't spend it, we don't get it." And I asked the question like, "Why won't you get it next year?" And they're like, "Oh, well, the accountants will say, 'Oh, you didn't need it this year.'" But it seems like a very simple conversation to have. Be like, yeah, we didn't need it that year, but maybe we could have it this year and taxes didn't have to go up. Is it just too much to go through as far as government wise? Because that's just kind of how the budget works, or why do you think that they don't just not if they don't just words are easy if they don't spend the money?
I just don't think we like nuance. Like that
Okay.
would require a conversation. You need a rule, and then we follow that rule, and that's it. Like, hey, here's the reason why we should look at this thing and why we should spend more money next year. Like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We do not like nuance in any capacity of Western culture. So, like, that would require a slowdown, trying to understand, making sure we're making the best decision. Absolutely not. I don't know many people who like doing that at all.
I mean, the government, I feel like there's a couple people in government that, I mean, they slow it down pretty good, but if you just, I don't want to say hammer it out, but it seems pretty straightforward with some of the things as far as, but like you said, that's probably not exciting. That's not getting you voted for, and it's definitely not going to excite other people if you have to go into work and actually work.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna blame anyone, but I do think
Yeah,
most people are trying to get as close as done as quick as possible. So,
yeah.
it's what it is.
So you started in tech sales, what made you make the move to whatever after that?
Like I got robbed basically. I had a deal that I had closed. They were supposed to pay me like $40,000 and then they just like told me they weren't gonna pay me. And I was like, I already hate it here. So if I'm gonna be here and you're gonna kind of, rake me over
Yeah.
the coals, then I'm out. So I just left. I was done. I was just gonna figure it out, doing something else
How
because
big was that deal if you were getting 40 grand?
um I was on the lower level of the deal. Like what ended up happening was like in tech sales, I was an inside salesperson. It rolled up to a larger deal. That deal was like $10 million. I was supposed to be making, I could have made more than that, but the cap was 40,000. It was the most I could make on any deal. And then they were like, yeah, yeah, we're gonna pay you, handed me an award, and the next day told me like, sorry, we're not paying you. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. That made it easy for me. I'm out 2 weeks.
That's
And I was done. Well, it's
nuts.
like also at first I wasn't gonna get my 2 weeks, but then they started kind of being kind of weird about it because I think they realized I was kind of angry about it. It was kind of funny. Like in the meeting, I was like, "Hey, um, yeah, like they were like, can you just say that you hit the number and then we not pay you. And my response was like, well, how about we do the opposite? How about you pay me and then I won't tell anyone? I'm cool with that. And they were like, that's not an option. And I was like, I don't think we're gonna come to an agreement here. And that set the tone for the last bit of the time that I was gonna have in corporate America.
That's insane. I gotta hear more about this. So the structure of the company was you get a deal through, you get a percentage,
Yeah.
and they said
As
because
a as a side note, all deals that you sign for a commission structure will always say that they can change the amount that they're going to pay you. So they just
oh
change
shit.
yeah, and they say like it never happens. It almost never happens. But then every now and then it happens. And when it happens, it's typically not because they're going to pay you more. It's typically because they don't want to pay you that much, or they're just changing the structure of how they're paying everyone at the level that you're at. And so that's just what happened. And it's all good. Like honestly, I'm grateful for it because it led me into
Yeah.
building products and doing all the stuff I do now. So
So what was the next move from there?
I was just trying to build products and I had been doing it for a little bit. I ended up selling a music magazine and having some different things that happened, like a digital music magazine. I was building apps for other people because I had tried to build an app a couple times and then people were like contracting me for it. And then eventually that led to me getting into product management. And then now I make content, make books, and build products.
So in the time where you're kind of figuring out your own groove, building apps and stuff like that, do you have any hobbies? Are you still playing basketball? What's the going on when we're not working?
I mean, it took a while. I ended up moving to Texas after the vid and like when Texas opened. And then during that time, I was really getting back into reading and like working out. I had gotten a little big. I decided I wanted to lose weight, got on my like David Goggins, Tony Robbins vibe. And, I was trying to become financially free. And that turned into like a whole thing of spending a bunch of money on coaching and masterminds. But yeah, throughout all that, like I've kind of fell back in love with reading during that time.
Yeah. So you said getting on your David Goggins. Uh, how do you, as just like for yourself, when you're trying to add in a new habit or fitness goal, how do you approach that and to make it be successful?
For me, it's just as simple as like I don't view myself as the person who's not doing the task. I view myself as the person who knows that I could do the task. Because like we're kind of schizophrenic. We'll be like humans are in Western culture are very schizophrenic. We'll be like, I really need to work out more. So a part of you knows you should work out more. And so then you'll be like, I'll set an alarm for tomorrow. And then you set the alarm and when you wake up, you're like, I don't want to get out of bed, but I know I should get out of bed. It's like two different versions of yourself having a conversation every morning. So I just learned to identify with the version of myself that like wants to see myself succeed because it knows I can, and it just becomes much easier.
So yeah, with the COVID stuff, when I was working with clients, I wanted to let them know we all have a level 10 motivation, but that's usually for New Year's for a couple days, maybe a week max. So we got to figure out how to make it into a lifestyle and make the task not necessarily so hard.
Mhm.
And it wasn't about the best two a day. It wasn't about the 100% hitting your macros. It's just moving. What were the things that you did for yourself that you saw the change?
I started intermittent fasting. Then eventually that turned into water fasting. I did a couple week-long water fasts.
Nice.
I worked out a bunch, ran a lot, lifted a lot. I mean, I just went full David Goggins for a little while there. And then
Yeah.
I did everything that I wanted to do. And then I was not sure what to do because I had pushed myself to the point where I was like, I hit all my goals and then I would kind of fall off and then I'd hit all my goals again. And
Yeah.
so I started asking myself, why can't I just do things because I like doing them? And that actually shifted a lot because, like you're describing, it's like you get a lot of motivation to do things. But the motivation, like, why do you need motivation to do something that's good for you? Like, what
Right.
is it about that concept in your head that like you need motivation to do what's best? And that's when everything kind of shifted because I was like, well, I like feeling good and I like doing things because I enjoy it. And that was, it was like who knew it was that easy? But that's a
Do
change for everything for me.
do these bits of wisdom come from just the group of friends you're around, an Instagram reel, YouTube video? Where do these perspectives come from?
I read a lot,
Okay.
and like a lot, and a lot from different books. So different ideas, different thoughts, different concepts. But yeah, that's where it all kind of comes from. Side note, I
Yeah.
am coming up on time relatively quick here, so
Okay.
I just need
Awesome.
to at 6:20. I got to jump.
Perfect. We
Awesome.
will get you there.
All right.
As far as how you have been creating so much content lately. How do you discover what you're going to put out?
I watch a TikTok or a video, or I'm watching television, and the idea just comes into my mind, and I have to just walk away from whatever I'm doing and just make the video. So that
Just do
happens 5 to 10 times a day. Like
it.
I
You
literally just, yeah. Like I was watching a Will Smith video, all of a
yeah,
sudden I had this idea for Fresh Prince by Gone, and it just like all came together very quickly, and that was it, and I had to do it.
that's phenomenal. Well, we'll finish things up with the last two questions that everyone gets.
Uh-huh.
What's your definition of health? Not necessarily the dictionary definition, but what is health to you?
Health is being congruent with reality. So, I think like it could be health in mind, health in like physical health, and it can be health in just enjoying life. And so I think when you are connected to the moment and you're happy with it, I think that's healthy.
I love that. And then what's something from your life that people listening to the podcast would be able to take away as a positive?
You can do anything that well, actually, let me backtrack. I want to say this correctly. Everything that has ever happened to me that everything that has ever happened to me was something that I believed in. Nothing that I've ever not believed in like has happened, because
Yeah.
I know it's not true. So at the end of the day, I always just think to myself, I'll at least believe it's true. It doesn't guarantee that it's going to happen, but nothing has ever happened that I knew wasn't going to happen. So
Mhm.
just give yourself that opportunity. If you think like, oh, I could, like you hear Kanye, he was like, if I quit music tomorrow, I'd become a basketball player. And people are like, no, you can't. And he was like, why not? Why not believe that I could do it? What's the point of not believing? And
Yeah.
that's just my thought process about reality.
Amazing. I love that so much. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, man. You're the best.
All
Have a
right.
wonderful
Have a good
night.
one.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye bye.